So we will focus on the topic of statistics for this lesson. Okay, we define statistics as the mathematics that deals with the collection. So collection is how you gather the data. How you gather the data. Is it by one ba? Is it by observation ba? Or uh, or is it by kaning interview? Ano? Or is it by kuan? Is it by survey? No? Or pwede gapon you gather data based on the chika-chika ng mga marites. That could be gather data pero walang to, delikado lang to nga data. It could be true, it could be false. No? Then next process for in this study is kaning tawag na to nga organization and presentation. So after you gather data, you are going to collate it, paste it on an Excel. Mo naman ang practice karon no, ibutang sa Excel. Then try na to present in a meaningful way. So you try to summarize it to tables or graph. Karon ang trend karon is gitawag na to nga infographics. No? So kung ano mo government agency kasagara ila mga data presentation is using infographics. No, ay kuan siguro as kuan no kaning mga computer specialist no. Pwede mo model ana nga kuan kanang bitang sa web kanang mga kaning mga data visualization, mga kuan infographics. Mura mao po ni siya ang trend ron gani ka pangita na karon sa kuan kanang online nga kuan class. Mga online nga mga job kanang mga remote online jobs bitaw ginapagitan na siya ng mga skill kanang pagbuhat sa infographics. Then naata gitawag nato nga analysis. Analysis is when you try to make a decision, no, when you try to make an inference about a large group of people, no. So let us say nagsample ka, no, from the Philippines na setting, from the again the oron na setting, you try to make a conclusion about the whole Philippines, no, about the whole Philippines. So so you try to draw a conclusion, make an inference, no, about the population. That is analysis, no. So when you are going to give the meaning, okay, interpretation of data. So when you try to give the meaning of the results of your data or the results of your presentation and an analysis of data, so that is where interpretation takes place, no, when you try to give meaning, no? So parang you translate the numbers and graphs into words, no, in a layman's term na pagka explain. So that is interpretation. Okay, so we already know that there are two types of statistics. We call them descriptive statistics and inferential, no. Atong descriptive, wala na siya katong tama lang na siya sa presentation of data, no. Presentation of data ka naman. Mag-compute ka sa, because description lang yan you try to describe something about what you have gathered, no, or a certain group of people. So kanang measures of central tendency, no, kanang frequency distribution, ang pinakadaghan, ang tunga-tunga, no, ang average. Okay, those covers kaning descriptive statistics. Then inferential is kaning when you try to draw inference. So kung mag-test na ka o significant difference, when you test for significant relationship, okay, yun, or when you try to model a certain behavior to predict something, inferential statistics na yan, no? So yan, so just a little background about those two, okay. Okay, so I will focus my discussion on these concepts, no, the concepts of population, sample, and data. No, kaya mo gini pinaka importante nga part sa kaning statistics, no, kaning tulo, kaning population, sample, and data. Okay, if we don't understand these concepts, no, so usahay mamali ta og kanang use sa mga appropriate statistical tool, no. So mamali ta gamit sa appropriate na statistical tool. Okay. So population is just simply the large collection of people, objects, or things. Kung sa research na siya na kay participants, ang totality sa imong participants mo na gitawag na nga population, no? And any value we can take from the population is called the parameter. Then sample is just a portion of your population, no? So kung mag-draw kang inference about the population, dili man tanan nimo na i-survey, magkuha magig ka og sample ng part, no? So mo din na from the sample you try to make an inference about the population. So mo rin diyan na rin magawa sa inferential statistics, no? Anyway, the difference of population and sample, it's like this, no? Let us say mag-conduct ng study, nag-survey ka about computer science students, no, in USTP Alubihid, for example. So the whole first year computer science students mo na imong population. Let us say you take CS1A, no? So kanina yung CS1A, so gikan man siya sa whole first year computer science students. Ayun, nagkuha ka sa CS1A, kanina yung CS1A will be your sample, no? Ano siya atong sample. Anyway, na may different sampling techniques, so i-review na lang inyong panana, no? I-review na lang inyo yung stat, no? How sample size and your sample is being collected, no, through data sampling procedures. So i-review na lang ninyo na. Okay, data is the facts or information that gathered under this certain study. Ano? Dayon, kato da yung trait na imong ginapangita, we call that as variable. Ano, katong trait na imong look onto is mo na imong variable. Okay, let's say for example kaning sa computer science students, CS1A, gusto na ko may bawaan ng ilang grades, no? Ilang grades. So kanang grades na description itself mo na gitawag nato nga variable in statistics, no? Variable siya kay ang grades sa students is galaylahi, vary, no? Galaylahi. And kanina yung mga grades like kanang actual grades dayon like 1.75, 2.25, no, 1.50, and so on. Kani dayon siya nga mga observations, we call them as data or data, no? Muna gitawag nato nga mga data. Okay. Okay, we can classify data as categorical or numerical. Pag mayroon taog categorical, so we cannot quantify them. Description lang na siya. And sometimes unique to every individual. Pag mayroon taog quantitative or numerical, ma-quantify na siya. When we say quantify, ma-identify nimo kinsa ang less, kinsa ang greater. No? Kinsa ang less, kinsa ang greater. No? It answers the questions how much or how many. So mao na siya ang quantitative data. Okay, question. class. Question, no, from the group. Is cell phone number quantitative or qualitative? Ang cell phone number ba quantitative or qualitative?
Quanti.
Quanti. Ang cellphone ba number ba nimo ma-identify ba nimo unsa kinsa ang less, kinsa ang greater?
No.
Dili, no? Does it answer the questions how much or how many?
No, sir.
Yes.
No.
No. So therefore, dili siya qualify as quantitative. Though number siya, dili siya mo qualify as quantitative. It belongs to qualitative. Quali siya. Description naman siya. Though number siya, pero description na siya. And every cell phone number is unique to every individual. Diba? So, one. So, anong mga identification number, TIN, no, mga SSS number, yon. Though number to sila, mga qualitative to sila. No? Qualitative. Pero kung number of students in the class, ano na siya? Qualitative or quantitative?
Quanti, sir.
Quanti.
Okay, tama, no? So, sure, gito nga, quanti. Kita man mo, kinsay mas dagan, kinsay mas gamay. Di ba? So, yun. So, I hope you see the difference between qualitative and quantitative. Anang religion, unsa na siya? Qualitative or quantitative?
Quanti.
Religion.
Quali?
Okay, quali. Yan.
Quali, sir.
Okay. Religion is quali, di ba? Okay. Description may ayang data na. Roman Catholic, Islam, Buddhism, di ba? Description. So, quali yun. So I hope you see the difference between qualitative and quantitative. So, na yung mga descriptions. Okay. So, quantitative data can be categorized into discrete and continuous. Pag may yung taog discrete class, that is determined by counting. So, for example, the number of apples. No? So, discrete yun. Pag may yung taog continuous data, ang continuous is determined by measure. Ano? Measure. So, for example, here, kaning time. Diba? Ang time is gina-measure man nato. So, that is the difference between the two. No? Take note, no? Pag may discrete, count. Kung may continuous, that is by measure. Okay. I will not discuss this anymore. Ako naman yung decided ganina ang variable, no? Ani ang pinaka-importante sa tanan. Ani the scales of measurement. No? Dapat kabalo ta what type of data and unsa iyang level ay monton mao man ni siya atong basis kung unsa nga statistical tool or measure atong gamiton kung mag-summarize na ka sa inani nga type of data, no? Okay, ang lowest level is kani gitawag nato nga nominal scale. So ang nominal scale is qualitative by nature, no? Qualitative na siya by nature. So it's more of a description or name or category, no? Description, name or category. So example na it's gender, no? Your brand preference, your name. Okay, so those are examples of nominal scale. Ang next is, okay, this one is also qualitative by nature, no? qualitative by nature, it is also by name, pero na ay certain degree of hierarchy or na ay certain degree of order. No? Example of that is kaning Likert scale. No? Example na is Likert scale. Kung sa din yung mga Likert scale, nakatubag na mo ba o mga survey class nga kuan ang responses kay inani strongly disagree, agree, strongly agree. Or kung dili mga ni inana kay never, rarely, sometimes, always. So mga inana nga mga options. Okay, if naka-encounter mo ana nga mga options no sa mga questions, okay. Ang data nimo ana are in the ordinal scale. So description siya categorical pero na ay certain degree of hierarchy or level, no? Ay order. So kani murag mas taas ang frequency kaysa ani. Another example is kaning t-shirt size. T-shirt size, example, di ba, ang data sa t-shirt size kay 16, 18, small, extra small pa dahil. Extra small, dayon small, medium, large, extra large, and so on. Diba, inana man ang iyang sizes sa t-shirt. So, kung tanawan mo, description siya, pero na ay certain degree of hierarchy, no? Kita niyo mo kinsay mas dako, kinsay mas gamay. So kana siya, it's an ordinal scale, ano? So ordinal scale. So that is the difference between nominal scale and ordinal scale, no? Ang next two, the next two are numerical by nature. Numerical by nature. Only that the difference is ang isa na ay absolute zero, ang isa wala. Okay? Ang isa na ay absolute zero, ang isa wala. What do you mean by na ay absolute zero? Pag mayroon ka og data nga na ay absolute zero, no? Pag zero ang quantity, meaning there is really an absence of that quantity. No? There is really an absence of that quantity. Say for example, no, kaning zero mass, 0 kilograms na mass. Okay. So 0 kilograms na mass is ang mass ana has an absolute zero. Kaya ano? Kaya ang 0 kilograms meaning wala gid siya mass at all, no? So ang zero dia means there is really an absence of that quantity. Yung pag 0 kilograms na mass, meaning wala dyan siya mass. Let's say for example, 0 number of students. So kung mayroon ka og 0 number of students, meaning wala dyan siya estudyante. So mo na yung absolute zero. And that is under ratio scale. No? Under ratio scale na. Ito na yung mga data na walay absolute zero, pag mga no fixed zero, under din na sila sa interval scale. No? So meaning, ang zero nga quantity does not mean na ay absent sa quantity. No? I say for example kanang 0 degree Celsius na temperature. Kanang 0 degree Celsius na temperature class, na ay temperature or wala? May tawag 0 degree Celsius na temperature. Na ay temperature ana or wala?
That is, sir. Yes, sir.
sir.
Naa, di ba?
Pero zero.
No, na. Pero naa siya. No, naa. Only ang temperature is very cold, no? The temperature there is very cold. So, kana nga mga quantities is under interval scale, no? Under interval scale. Pero be very careful tanaw basta ang quantity is temperature kay pang mayon taog temperature in Kelvin sa physics mo gud na ay absolute zero temperature. Mao na gid na siya lowest possible measure sa temperature which is 0 Kelvin. Temperature in Kelvin paano siya? It's under ratio scale. Pero kung degree Fahrenheit or degree Celsius, they are under interval scale. Most of the numerical type of data or the quantitative type of data, it falls under ratio scale. No? Falls under ratio scale. Gamay ra ang quantities nga kuan. Gamay ra ang quantities nga itawag ani kaning interval. No? Gamay ra ang quantities nga interval. Ang hint sa kanang interval is kanang pwede mag-negative ang value. No? Under na siya sa interval scale. Kaya kung sa ratio scale, pinakagamay na is 0 yun. No? Pinakagamay is 0. Okay, anyway. Okay, so that's that's all about types of data and the scales of measurement. For this one, I will just send this later, no? Or maybe tomorrow. Send na ko ni exercises na ko diri, no? Para na may kalingawan ng ansiran. Okay, before I am going to proceed with the next slide, no? Do you have any questions that was being discussed, especially on the concepts related to data management and statistics? Okay. If there's none, okay. If there's none, so I will just continue on to the data gathering techniques. Anyway, very short lang yun. Ways of gathering data natin gitawag nga interview method. So I guess you are familiar of interview, no? So familiar na mo because most of you have undergone qualitative research. So interview is the kaning face-to-face or direct interaction with your respondents. Advantage is the advantage of this is you will really get the actual data that you really want, no? Ang disadvantage is especially if dako imong coverage dugay gyud ka mahuman, no? It takes time to finish when you are going to have interview method. The other one is kaning questionnaire method or kaning gitawag na nga survey. Dagan na klase sa survey, no, na ay survey via kuan. So na ay survey via phone, na ay survey na face to face, na ay survey via email. Ang pinaka kuan karon is online survey, no? Pinaka trend karon. I-survey lang ka through Google Forms or na-survey via ads, no? Kung tanawon nimo, no, if mo open ka og Facebook usahay or open ka og YouTube, na survey, quick surveys, no? So they are already available. Okay. The advantage of this is very easy ang pag-administer. So dali ra pag-administer nimo, so i-send na ihatag lang nimo ang questionnaire. Magulat lang ka din ilang i-send sa iyo balik, no? So easy lang ang pag-administer. Ang disadvantage is dili ka assured if you are not assured if of the right information, no? You are not assured of the right information that you will get because nami-aside especially kanang I guess naka-experience na mo ani, no? Naiuban nga magpa-survey ka Ang uban kay binuangan og kuan, binuangan og say tawagan respond. Binuangan respond ang imong survey. No? So that is the disadvantage, no? So you will sometimes dili mao ang gi-answer sa gi-required na question. So moto. So that is the disadvantage. Next one is kaning registration. Registration is ang data is available daan. Okay, it's already available. All you have to do is to get it in a certain agency. No? So equivalent aning registration is kaning database, no? Okay. Usually if you go to online, so you will just ask data from their database. So actually it's related to registration method. Yeah. Advantage is the data is already available, no? All you have to do is to ask a permission, no, to get some data. The disadvantage, your data that will gather is only limited. Limited. Wala man kay freedom. No nga, unsa nga type of data nga tagaan lang kanila. Dayon kung unsa ilang gihatag mao na dayon. So that's the disadvantage of registration method. Kanina yung last method is kaning experimental method, no? Experimental or observation. So, morning the follow of scientific method, no? So require laboratory, actual measurements, no? The advantage of this is kaning you will really get the actual data. Disadvantage, it will take you time to gather data. Okay. Kunya mahal pud ni, no? It will consume costly sa time and money. Costly na sa time and money kay sa akin mag-laboratory pa baya ka, no? And also it's a high risk of having a kaning standard error. Nagko sa standard error. Anyway, kung naamoy probstat, ma-discuss na sa inyong topic unsa nang standard error, no? Especially kanang kaning examples of data that having standard error, quite big standard errors is kaning naay nang exist na outlier. Outlier, it's like kaning sobraan kadako nga data or sobraan kagamay nga entry, no? Nga data. Sobraan kadako or sobraan kagamay. Problematic na siya sa analysis kay usahay kay kanang it will contribute to some errors in making inferences. Maka-contribute siya kung sa hypothesis testing, maka-contribute siya og type 2 error, no? Pero dito na sa inyong higher stat na ipa-discuss, no? Okay. Yun. So, ang remedy basta inana bitaw kanang naka-outlier is daghanon nimo imong samples. Kaya kung gamay imong samples, problematic kayo basta na outlier. So, mao ra ginay remedy basta na ay mga inana nga instances, no? Okay. Ways of presenting data na atay gitawag textual. So textual is kaning done using kaning sentences and paragraphs. This is very good, no? Kung ang imong data gathering method is kaning interviews, observation, bitang especially if your study it's qualitative or case studies. So ang pag-present sa data na is textual. Then the common one is kaning tabular, no? Kanang mga common research tabular maging nakasagara. Sa USTP na thesis is when you are going to present your data is you are going to present it through tables, daily graphs, no? Sa tabular siya. Then kung mato po taog mga government agency, they are using infographics. So the way they presented their data, it's through infographics, no? And some of these infographics are using graphical way of presenting data. No? Graphical way of presenting data. So those are the key ways of how data is being presented.